Flyers podcast. I am Russell Joy, at Joy on Broad on Twitter, co-host of Crossing Broadcast, and here we are, Snow the Goalie, a Flyers podcast. I am joined, as always, by Flyers beat writer for CrossingBroad.com, Anthony Sanfilippo. Anthony, would you like to say anything really brilliant right off the bat?
I'd like to just say hi. You know, I mean, we're finally talking about hockey here on Crossing Broad. I know a lot of people have been pushing for this lately, and now we have the opportunity to do it. And I'm really excited about it, Russ. And this is something we waited till the end of the season, but it doesn't matter. There's always time to talk about hockey, and I'm excited that we're going to have the opportunity to provide this every week.
Yep, this has been a. Oh yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome into Snow the Goalie, the Only Flyers podcast, the People's Podcast, Players Podcast, Prognosticators Podcast, Pedialyte Podcast, the Only Flyers podcast. That was 5.5 years ago. I introduced myself at the time as Russell Joy, and I said how excited I was to be doing a show with this man over here, Anthony Sanfilippo. I think the show sounds a little bit different now.
A little bit. Yeah. I mean, we've grown. We usually have Bundy with us, so it's a 3-man operation, not just a 2-man operation. Yeah. You no longer introduce yourself as the host of the Crossing broadcast.
That's true. I've long since moved on.
From that. Russell Joy.
Russell. So, listen, if you're sitting back and you're thinking to yourself, hey, what happened to these guys? Where has the show been? Because I'm on the Crossing Broad channel. I'm on the Crossing Broad YouTube channel. These guys were doing a really good thing. They did a bunch of episodes up until, May of 2023. What the hell happened? Where did they go? Is the show canceled? Well, of course not. And I assume that if you watch the show or you listen to the show over the years, you will have already found us. But we wanted to make sure that we came back for anybody who has just been left in this weird kind of quagmire, this gray area of whatever happened to Snow the Goalie. Well, I can tell you now that, Ant, what was the date on that recording, that intro track that we did all those years ago?
That was March 27th, 2018.
So
today is October. We're recording this on October 10th, 2023.
And that's fitting because as we realized right before we started recording, it's been exactly 2,023 days since we dropped that intro to what the show is. Now, admittedly, we certainly need to change that intro track because although it's hilarious, it is not entirely representative of what the show has evolved into over 5.5 years. But the reason, as I mentioned, that we're here to do this is to inform you, if somehow you've missed it, we've gone our own path. If you look at the bottom of the screen, you'll see that we are now available on YouTube. It's the Snow the Goalie YouTube channel. If you just go into YouTube and you type Snow the Goalie, it'll now lead you to that channel. But if you are so inclined, you can type in youtube.com/@ you need the @ at Snow the Goalie. We have been keeping going. We've been chugging along. And we've been doing some really big things. And I will tell you that if you've been somebody who's been on this ride with us for the last 5.5 years, we want to thank you. And we know a lot of you because you interact with us on Twitter, or you send us emails, snowthegoalie@gmail.com, or you follow us on Instagram and send us messages there. There are a few people who just started following us on TikTok and sending us stuff on there as well. I'll just tell you, we have some other things that we're working on, other ways that we want to try to do additional content. We might at some point start working out post-game shows on the Snow the Goalie channel for road games, or if not post-game, the morning after. And I are still figuring that out. It's going to be a lot of extra stuff to do. But I think that ultimately, if that's one way that we, try to reach out to more fans, it's something that we're open to. If there's something that you want to see us do, if there's something that you would like to see us do to expand our coverage of the team, by all means, you can send us an email, snowthegoalie@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter. Our handle's been on the screen the whole time, at @JoyOnBroad, at AntSanPhilly, Bundy's at CTerrian6. You can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/snowthegoalie. You can find us on TikTok. You can find us on Threads, although we don't post anything there anymore because Threads is pretty much dead, I think. Apparently, allegedly. I don't know who's to say. But we're also there at Snow the Goalie. And, of course, youtube.com/@snowthegoalie. That's where you can find us from now on. So if you're watching this on the Crossing Broad channel, thank you for all the time. Thank you for coming back and watching all these episodes. If somehow you are one of the people who only watched it on the Crossing Broad YouTube channel for all this time and legitimately spent 5 months thinking, where the hell did these guys go? Now you know. So go find us where we've been living for the last 5 months.
And I will still, just for those people, and this is on the Crossing Broad page, I will still be writing for Crossing Broad. And we will hyperlink at the bottom of my stories Snow the Goalie. So you could still read my stuff there and then click through and end up on the Snow the Goalie page. So it's still going to be, you're going to have access to it through Crossing Broad. You just won't see the videos on the Crossing Broad YouTube page. You won't see episode promotions as a post on the Crossing Broad page any longer. It'll just be the hyperlinks in my stories, and then you got to come to Snow the Goalie, youtube.com @ Snow the Goalie to actually see it.
By the way, we're going to be looking to do more written content on snowthegoalie.com. I'll start writing more of this stuff over there. Do I have the ability to write stuff on Crossing Broad? I sure can. Do I think that it's important for us to start writing some stuff on Snow the Goalie? I do. So I will probably start writing a lot more content for snowthegoalie.com. We've toyed with the idea of a newsletter. We might do it, we might not. But for now, we'll definitely have content going up on snowthegoalie.com. If you're interested, if you're sitting out there and you're like, hey, I think I might want to eventually write about sports someday. If you're listening, if you're in college and you're like, I'd like to try to get a start somewhere, and you're interested in trying to write for snowthegoalie.com, you want to reach out to me, snowthegoalie@gmail.com, or send me a DM at JoyOnBroad on Twitter. Be happy
send
to
me a
look
DM.
over anything that you've done.
I'll end up forcing you over to Russ, but send me a DM. We can talk.
We'll consider, we're going to do formal application process here, but if people are out there and they want to write, by all means, we're more than willing to try to help some people, especially, college age people who are trying to get their start, or just out of college who are looking to get their start with a reputable, group of people. We're happy to try to work something out there and help. I think one of the coolest things, and I guess this is probably the former teacher in me, but like the idea of being able to help somebody get their career started, write them a letter of recommendation, which I was fucking great at. I will have you know, kids who ask me for letters of rec, I made them sound like the greatest student in the history of students. Some of them were good. I never wrote one for bad students, though. I would say you might want to find somebody else. But I got a few. I will tell you, this was pretty cool. I had a few students who at the time were like, can you write me a letter of rec for Brown? Or can you write me a letter of rec for Harvard? And I was like, sure,
no problem.
Good old me. But they got in. They got into any college, and it certainly was not because of their academic ability. It was because of the letter of rec I wrote.
There you go.
Nudge, nudge. So it wasn't that.
It was the only
but anyway,
letter of recommendation.
The only letter of recommendation. But anyway, if you're interested, snowthegoalie@gmail.com. We'll try to work it out. If you're somebody who will go with the same thing, wants to get their start doing social media, wants to expand and be able to build out a portfolio, we're also open to that as well. So if you're like, hey, I have to get an internship for whatever program. If you're at Westchester University, the best Chester, my alma mater, might give you, an even better look. But anybody out there, if you want to do writing, if you want to do social media work, we're more than happy to have that conversation. So I'm very excited about what we've been able to do for the first 5.5 years of this show. I look forward to what we're going to be able to do this season. And this is officially, in a weird way, I'm employed by the company that bought Crossing Broad, that owns Crossing Broad. But yet, I'm saying this is probably the last time that we will ever post this show to this channel on YouTube. It's been a wild ride. You're going to still write for the site. I still occasionally hop in and write things for the site. But for the purposes of Snow the Goalie and the Crossing Broad YouTube channel, this is it. So I want to thank everybody who's been part of the ride, or for those of you who initially found us through Crossing Broad, for all of those of you who found us through other mediums. And let's be honest, there are many people who listen to the show who were not Crossing Broad fans and who still might not be Crossing Broad fans. Guess what? That's totally fine too. You're more than welcome to continue listening to the show or watching the show on the Snow the Goalie YouTube channel. We don't judge. We're just happy to have you here. We love you all. I feel like I'm about to turn into Pat McAfee here. I'm going to start rolling up my sleeves. I'm going to start talking about how we got some dogs in here.
You got to, no. Roll up your sleeves. You got to wear the tank top is what you got to wear.
I don't have tank tops like that. I don't. We've got to keep these guns away. Anyway, big thank you. This was an hour 15. We legitimately meant for this to be a 5-minute thing. We've somehow turned this into an hour 15. Our apologies, but thank you for listening or maybe even watching Snow the Goalie, the Only Flyers podcast, which will remain the Only Flyers podcast. Now you can follow us on YouTube, youtube.com/@snowthegoalie. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Apple, or Amazon Music, Pandora. I almost said Stitcher. Stitcher's not a thing anymore. Hopefully by the time somebody finds this show, they'll know that we're where we are. Imagine if like 3 or 4 years from now, somebody finds us and they go, well, Amazon and Apple merged. Those apps don't exist anymore. Well, as of October 10th, 2023, all of those apps still exist. And if they don't exist, actually do us a favor. If you watch this show many years from 2023, if you somehow landed here in the algorithm and Snow the Goalie is no more, it's 2045 and we aren't doing the show anymore, by all means, comment down below because everything always lives forever on the internet. Let us know what we got wrong. Let us know if like, did Amazon and Apple merge? Did Google buy Disney? We want to know. I mean, we'll know at that point. It's not like we can retroactively come back to this moment in time with comments from 2045, but just for funsies, it'll be fun. And Ant, someday, you and I, assuming we're still alive, we will look at some point, we'll inevitably find our way back to this channel, to this video, to this moment, and we will look at those comments and say, oh boy, life was different back in 2023. Just like we said at the start of this episode, when we said, hey, life was very, very different back in 2018. So, Ant, it's been a hell of a ride.
And it's going to be a hell of a ride going forward, too.
Thank you for listening or watching Snow the Goalie. We'll talk to you soon.